Hello, this is episode 11 of the Movie Burner podcast, the weekly podcast from Movie Burner Entertainment, where we discuss the latest entertainment news, reviews and share our views. So what's up first, John?
Well, I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas, everybody. And up first, Stephen, is a little subject we were talking about in a previous podcast, where it's now being announced that Fox have become part of the Disney machine. This obviously broke last week, whilst we were in the midst of a whole Star Wars craze, and we didn't really get to touch upon it at the time, but it's now broke. It's semi-confirmed. I think it's still got to go through some procedures over in the US in terms of how it fits in with law and stuff like that, but it's certainly been announced that they've came to an agreement. So what's your thoughts on that, Stephen?
Yeah, 52.4 billion, John, dollars that is, 39 billion pounds. This is from Variety magazine. Some of the key elements of the transaction unveiled last week. The deal value the 21st Century Fox assets and transaction of $66.1 billion, including $13.7 billion in 21st Century Fox debt, or $28 a share. The enterprise value of the deal is $69 billion. Disney Chairman CEO Bob Iger has extended his contract with the company for another 2 years through to the end of 2021 in order to oversee the integration of the assets. 21st Century Fox shareholders will receive 0.2745 Disney shares for each Fox share held, giving Fox shareholders about 25% of Disney. 21st Century Fox will spin off Fox Broadcasting Company, Fox Sports, Fox News, Fox television stations and a handful of other assets into a new company that will have revenue of $10 billion and earnings of about $2.8 billion. 20th Century Fox lot in the Century City will also remain with the spin-off Fox company. 21st Century Fox will continue to pursue its acquisition of the remaining 61% stake in Eurosat Caster Sky that it does not already own, with the intention of Disney taking it over when Disney Fox transaction is completed. Disney expects to realise $2 billion in cost savings from combining Disney and Fox's overlapping businesses within 2 years of the deal closing. And just finishing it up with a statement from Bob Iger. The acquisition of this stellar collection of businesses from 21st Century Fox reflects the increasing consumer demand for a rich diversity of entertainment experiences that are more compelling, accessible and convenient than ever before. Now, John, just before I pass this over to you, that statement there from Bob Iger, to me, you know, what I picked up from that last statement, it certainly does sound like Disney are going down the road of, you know, what we've already picked up on over the last couple of months about streaming services and streaming sites. What's your take on it, John?
Yeah, I think it's clear they see the change in the market. They see the effects these digital services are having on Hollywood and the market in general. It's clear Netflix and obviously Amazon now, with their Prime Video service, really eating into the profits of the major studios and stuff like that, and you can just see the effect it's having on the industry as a whole. Obviously it's pretty much a golden era for TV shows just now, certainly over in America. And yeah, I mean, Netflix is releasing a ton of original movies and stuff like that, so they really have to combat this with their own service, which I think they've announced they are going to be doing, their own streaming service at some point over the next year or 2 years. So this is clearly their plan to attack this and really try and come back with something of their own, by buying over a historic and major studio. And obviously Fox holds a lot of rights. I think they have Hulu, and they've got their finger in many pies in terms of the TV streaming and stuff like that. So it's certainly clear to me that that's the route they're going down. This is one of the major reasons they went for this deal, this takeover deal. But yeah, I find it very exciting. I find it exciting what they're going to do with this streaming service, how it's going to rival Netflix. Are they going to do their own original stuff just on that platform? What they're going to do with TV shows, what the different ratings are going to be. Also, Netflix's wide diversity of programmes, different ratings. You've got things like Daredevil on there, which is quite violent, and then you've got other kids friendly stuff. I think Daredevil's actually Marvel, so that'll probably be going over to the new Disney streaming service anyway, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects things as well.
Just touching on your comment about Daredevil and such like, John. Yeah, this certainly will be moving over to Disney's streaming channel eventually anyway. I've got to be honest, I don't think Netflix is going to have a leg to stand on when this is in full flow. You've got to remember that Disney back in 2012, 2013, took over Lucasfilm. I can actually see Star Wars having a television series on the new Disney streaming site, which will be in big demand.
I think they announced it.
Yeah, that's right, they did, yeah. So Netflix, to me, have really got to up the ante here. They're certainly going to lose all their Marvel eventually in the next few years. Certainly, by 2021, I think Disney will have probably the biggest subscriber
base.
Yeah, and it does really beg the question, and I don't know if this has already been asked, why Fox are doing this. I don't really want to get into the details of what we think, but 20th Century Fox or 21st Century Fox is one of the biggest studios in Hollywood over the last 100 years. They've got some prime real estate in the likes of The Simpsons, The X-Files, that's been revived over the last few years, and also their franchises in the X-Men and such like. It really does beg the question why they're doing this. Obviously, for $54 billion or $52.4 billion, sorry, I think that makes it a lot easier to hand over the rights to everything. But it's concerning as well. Is this where Disney are going to stop? I certainly don't think it will be. A lot of questions to be asked in this handover, but at the same time, it's a very exciting time for fans of things like Star Wars, etc. It's one of the things that popped into my head was with Disney owning the distribution rights now to the original 6 Star Wars films as well, whether or not they'll integrate that famous fanfare into the newer Star Wars films as well. Not an important thing as well, but it's like one of those cosmetic things that a lot of fans miss about the new Star Wars films. But I mean, it's certainly early days, but there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of them stopping, I don't know if they could take over any more studios. Certainly I don't think it would be financially viable at this point. The outlay they've just put out, it's a massive amount of money even for a company of Disney size. It's phenomenal when you hear the sums getting bandied about. Did you say $52.4 billion? That's eye-watering. But also in terms of law, I don't see the American, the Senate, I don't know what actually controls these sort of things. I think I would assume it would be the Senate over there. I can't see them allowing them to have a bigger monopoly than what they stand to have with the Fox inclusion into their obviously portfolio of works and studios and networks and stuff like that. So I don't think they can go much further than this. But just in terms of the effects it can have on different franchises that they obviously won't have control over now if this deal goes through, I find it quite concerning the effect it may have on a potential X-Men expanded universe. I don't think that's going to happen now. I think they're going to perhaps bring the X-Men back under the Marvel umbrella and have them doing their thing with the Avengers. In a way that excites me because I'm quite excited to see how that will play out. Obviously you've got guys like Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, they know what they're doing, and they'll certainly have a plan on how to implement them in. But I was really looking forward to seeing how this new X-Men expanded universe was going to play out. Obviously with the inclusion of New Mutants, the X-23 standalone film, and all the other different things that we're doing, I found it really exciting. It was a different direction for superhero films, certainly a different feel with them going with the darker, grittier tone. So this is a little bit disappointing that this may be scrapped now and they'll probably be bring them under the Marvel umbrella, which we all know has got a very distinct tone, very lighty tone at times. I know for a fact James Mangold, I read an article, obviously the director of Logan, he's voiced or aired his concerns about this, the effect it could have, the scrapping of a potential expanded universe and so on and so forth. Just touching upon what you says about the Star Wars franchise, I know a lot of people are hoping that this may lead to a release of a unaltered edition of the original trilogy. You can't see this happening with obviously George Lucas having I think a 20% stake in Disney shares as part of the purchase of the Star Wars franchise and Lucasfilm and stuff like that a couple of years ago. Can't see that happening. I don't think he'll allow it. He's very adamant that the current iterations of these Star Wars films he envisaged obviously had technical and effects limitations back in the day, so he couldn't do it. But I don't think he's going to allow that to happen. But certainly I hope it will open up the doors for them to go back and redo much of the effects, because I don't think the special editions are the problem. I think the problem now is the CGI is absolutely terrible and it's aged horrifically, especially in A New Hope, as I've mentioned numerous times. The Mos Eisley stuff is terrible with the creatures. They need to go back and redo it. And also, as you says, I think the prequel trilogy was also under Fox, so they've got that under control now. I want to see them go back and redoing all of those films, especially the Gungan stuff and stuff like that. Just redoing the animations, making sure it looks up to date. That would go a long way to making those films watchable again. Another thing I want to touch upon is just an impact out with the cinematic stuff and stuff like that in TV shows. The impact it will have on the theme parks, the Disney World and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, you've got all these great franchises and assets that Fox have got that will now perhaps be coming under the Disney umbrella, such as Alien, as you said, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Planet of the Apes, Avatar, Ice Age. I wonder if we'll now see them implementing these into their theme parks and maybe ushering out some of the older stuff that's not going to come over as well with the younger generation. Much of that stuff has been there for about 50-60 years, and it's more in with the younger generation's grandparents now than them. So I think you can probably see that in the future, that obviously they've added the Star Wars stuff. I think we'll now see maybe a Planet of the Apes world and Avatar and stuff like that getting introduced, so that's very interesting. That's another part. And yeah, I mean, it's a very, very interesting deal. They've also got access to some company, I think Fox owns, called Star India, which is opening up the whole Indian subcontinent as well, so they'll be able to really push stuff there as well, which is a massive market. I can imagine they'll want to be developing. So there's many, many reasons for this deal, and I think, as I said, Bob Iger's a very intelligent man. He knows what he's doing, so it's exciting, but it's concerning in parts as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's going to be any drastic decision making right away, John, in regards to concerns for this expanded universe. I think maybe this might be about 2 or 3 years down the line, when hopefully, these new mutant films would possibly have a trilogy under their belt by that point anyway. Just getting back to your point on the special editions, yeah, I did read that about the original versions will never see the light of day again. I think Kathleen Kennedy's reiterated that I think that was one of the part of the deal and the sign over to Disney from George Lucas anyway, that those original films will be kept in the vaults for forever. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on that, I've got to be honest with you. I've actually got both versions on disc, and certainly the special editions to me could be doing with some touching up. I do understand a lot of the decisions that were made back in 1997 when these were initially released, but there's so much in there that didn't have to be in there.
Yeah, like The Rock.
Yeah, and the horrible Jabba animation, I'll call that. But no, it's certainly exciting times for the Disney and Fox handover. It's one of these things we'll keep an eye on and see how it pans out.
Yeah, and moving on from that, we've obviously got the massive, monstrous release of The Last Jedi last weekend. And this is a film that's, as I says on a little review we done last Sunday, I think it released perhaps Tuesday because of technical difficulties. It taken about 10 hours to upload, didn't it?
It was last week,
yeah, last Tuesday. It's a very divisive film, this, and we've seen quite a backlash from certain parts of Star Wars fandom. And this is what we're going to be discussing next, Stephen, isn't it? The reaction, the negative reaction of The Last Jedi, and is it merited?
Has it merited? Certainly not. This latest episode has earned more domestically than Warner Brothers Justice League did in an entire month. So, I don't know if that shoots the argument right out of the water or not, but...
And it's mostly DC fanboys that are bashing it.
Yeah, and there seems to be a common trait just now with these passionate fans of whatever franchise it is that seem to begin down this road of knocking these films before they get to see them. We reviewed this last week, John. We were right off the back of coming out of the theatre when we did this, and we did say in the podcast last week that our heads were a wee bit over the place in regards to how we were going to structure the podcast, because the film is so layered. We've only saw it once. We will begin back next week to see it again, but I've got to say that my feelings on the film itself have not changed dramatically. There is certain things that I possibly said last week that I probably changed my mind on, but it's very, very small, my change of mind. The biggest sticking point among The Last Jedi's more critically engaged detractors appear to involve the treatment of the franchise's original hero, Luke Skywalker, John.
Yeah, a lot of people are not happy with his character, and listen, I can get on board with that to an extent. I certainly, as I've said numerous times, I think they butchered that character's backstory and storyline following the events of the original trilogy. A lot of people who are criticising this are very big fans of the expanded universe. They are quite disappointed that dozens, in some cases dozens upon dozens of stories involving Luke have been discarded for this new universe, and then they appear to have just made him a grumpy old man who run off to an island and then he dies. And as I say, and I can get on board with it to an extent. He certainly has been butchered as a character, I feel, but a lot of that is down to George Lucas himself. He took far too long to do anything, be it sell off Lucasfilm to a studio that could actually release the films or release them himself. I think he felt the technology wasn't good enough to continue on. He wanted to wait maybe 20 or 30 years until we done it. And the problem with that is the guys that played the original characters of Han and Leia and Luke, they've all grown old. Luke's in his 60s now, he can't jump about like he did when he was in his 20s during the originals. It's just impossible. So a lot of that falls on George Lucas for me, not so much Rian Johnson. He can only do what he can do. He can only work with the content he's got. The man's older. They have to find a way of introducing him into the story, making these arc fulfilling whilst doing their best to move the story on with the new characters. And a lot of people just, I don't think they're happy that the expanded universe stuff's gone. But I have to say, having read a lot of it, I didn't like it. I thought it was crap. Barring maybe 5 or 6 books, I didn't enjoy it at all. I thought the original Thrawn trilogy was fantastic. I really enjoyed Luke's part in that, might add. But that's...
Yeah, I never went near those books, John, I've got to be honest with you. I know that George Lucas kind of gave a nod to them being published, although he wasn't too concerned about the content of them.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the Thrawn trilogy, he actually completely changed it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll notice as the years go on that that Lucasfilm will cherry pick the best bits from these books anyway. Just getting back to the character of Luke Skywalker, he was my hero when I was growing up. Certainly my first hero. Loved the character. Loved Mark Hamill. I can't say enough about the guy. And I think Mark Hamill's comments as well have probably added fuel to the fire, although he has retracted a bit. This is something that he said a few months ago. I at one point had to say to Ryan, I pretty much fundamentally disagree with every choice you've made for this character. Now, having said that, I have gotten it off my chest, and my job now is to take what you've created and do my best to realise your vision. And I can't disagree with that. At the end of the day, Mark Hamill does not own the character of Luke Skywalker. He plays him. He's a tool, in the bigger machine. Nobody likes to see their heroes die. But if we can get back to the character of Yoda, now I know the films were made higgledy-piggledy, if you like, but if you watch them from episode 1 through, Yoda's this respectable Jedi that everyone goes to looking for advice, etc. And he's probably at the height of his powers as well, physically and mentally. Now, as the episodes go on, he has to isolate himself due to the rise of the Empire, and segregates himself from society and goes off to Dagobah. And it's not till The Empire Strikes Back that we see this character again. And you compare the Yoda of Empire Strikes Back to the Yoda of Episode 3, they are totally different. He's got a totally different mindset. He's a little bit crazy. He's been spending most of his the last 19 years or whatever it is alone.
Cooking stew.
This isn't any different to the Luke Skywalker we're seeing in 2017. This is why I don't understand why people have got a problem with this. People are comparing Luke Skywalker from 1983, the Return of the Jedi, to Luke Skywalker of 2017 in The Last Jedi. His mindset's changed. I can see the parallels. It's like George Lucas once said, it's all poetry. It certainly is in this case. I don't see any difference, and that's how I accepted it. We had voiced concerns before we went to see this film because the rumours of they were killing Luke off, etc. And initially I did have a problem with it because I just thought it's the reintroduction to him, but it's not. And Mark Hamill stated this enough. It's not his story anymore. It's the new character stories, and he's just, you know, passing the baton, as you know they say. We call it a baton over here, but you know, and I've came to accept that, and that's how I was able to get into this film with an open mind and accept what was about to go down on the screen.
Yeah, and also Ben Kenobi was the same. That's one of the main criticisms. Why did he run off to the island, let his friends die and stuff like that? Why did he do it? It's not in character. Well, I think if you actually are a fan of Star Wars, you'll see that the two major Jedi Masters that we got to see in the original trilogy, they both went away and isolated themselves in the middle of their powers, in the peak of their powers, if you like, for the greater good. Because they felt it was the right thing to do. They felt they had to go away, meditate, find themselves, find the best way forward. Looks the exact same. And I completely agree with you. I had concerns going in because he's my favourite character from the original trilogy. But I felt he done the best he could with it. Rian Johnson, I felt he handled the character well. He gave him something of an arc, and he's not dead. He will be back in the episode 9. He definitely will be back. If you watch the film, you'll hear Yoda saying, "Don't let her go. You have to train her," something along those lines. I'm slightly paraphrasing, but I think it's clear he's going to be back to train Rey, and he certainly will play a part going forward. Obviously, if he's a Force Ghost, I think I touched upon this. Maybe, I don't know if I did. I was just speaking to you, Stephen. When you've got a man of Mark Hamill's age, and I hope he's here for a lot longer. I hope it's not anything like Carrie Fisher happens, but there's always that danger. And if he's playing a major part in the franchise and he's not dead, he's not a Force Ghost, and he's very much still living, then you're always get that danger that he may pass away in the middle of a film and it leaves you in a little bit of a pickle. But if he's a Force Ghost and he can keep coming back, then they can at least write it out and explain why he's not in it anymore, and it's a little bit better, and he can still have an active role in the films. So I'm not too displeased with it.
I totally agree with you there, John. I think if Carrie Fisher hadn't passed on, possibly, you know, we might have seen a cameo from Mark Hamill in the next episode. I'm in no doubt that he's going to have a big part to play in the next one, especially now Carrie Fisher isn't going to be you know, how they're going to write that, and I don't know. You know, just moving on from the character of Luke Skywalker, though, there was other issues, and we've spoke about this. You know, this isn't bashing the film in any way, because probably about 90% of it I thought was amazing. But the characters of Rose, DJ, and mostly the stuff on Canto Bight certainly didn't sit well with me, and you know, a large part of the Star Wars community, John. What was your feelings on it?
Do you want me to be blunt here, Stephen? I thought it was absolute horseshit. That's my opinion on it. It bogged the story down, it destroyed the pacing. Here you've got the Rebel or the Resistance fleet on its last legs, barely staying out of range of the First Order, his guns, and you've got Rose and Finn off looking at the casino. Finn's looking on in awe. Oh, it's wonderful. Rose is giving these horrendous lines, and we talked about this before we came on. I just like to put my fist through this beautiful town, things like that. I'm like, what is this? And you've got those horrific CG, I don't know what they are, horse things, completely disrupted it. The DJ character, what a waste of Benicio del Toro's acting skills, and that weird drug stutter, completely disrupted the film, and in the end they failed, so it was a complete waste of time. The only reason we had that whole thing, I think, was just to let the First Order be aware of the Resistance smaller vessels going out towards Crate, so they could then lead the film onto the final showdown on Crate. I think that was the only reason they done it, because it was just completely, there was no need for it. And that is a valid criticism. I think everybody's pretty much in agreement with that one, though. I think no film's perfect. I don't think even the original trilogy is perfect. There's certain parts of that are a letdown, but yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that criticism. I can't argue with that. Yeah, I think terrible.
I think the reaction eventually is going to calm down. It's certainly, you know, after multiple viewings, you know, I think you can make up your mind then whether you like the film or not. You know, I always keep an open mind in these things, especially when it's a trilogy. You know, there's certainly issues with The Force Awakens, but there's certainly some of the dots were connected in The Last Jedi. Certainly some of them were cancelled out by Rian Johnson from J.J. Abrams setups, but I think after episode 9 I get a clearer vision, picture of what this trilogy means to yourself personally, and I'll certainly wait for that. I've got to be honest though, the anticipation going into episode 9 isn't heightened the way it was for The Last Jedi. I think that's the way J.J. Abrams set up the climax to The Force Awakens. I don't think that episode 9 is going to have that kind of anticipation in that sense, because the ending of The Last Jedi was very subdued in my part. This is another issue I think a lot of people have got with the last scene as well, with the broomstick boy, as we call him.
Harry Potter.
The Harry Potter scene. It certainly was a bit of an anticlimax. I think the scene before that was on the Falcon, which was a very subdued feeling on it, after just what happened with Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker. But certainly this scene, it's either going to mean something or it's going to be a throwaway scene just to let the audience know that there is other Force users out there. But we'll wait and see. And just moving on from The Last Jedi reaction, John, just want to talk about a little film that came out last February-March time from Fox. It was called Logan, starring Hugh Jackman. Oscars are coming up, they're just round the corner. I just want to know what your thoughts are on a possible nomination for comic book film.
As in Best Picture?
Yes.
I think it's got a very good chance of being nominated. I think it's about 10 nominations, isn't it now, for Best Picture, so certainly got a chance for being nominated. I don't know if it will win it, because they seem to be quite pretentious, the Academy, the people, I can't remember what the name is, but there's a lot of committee who cast the votes, and they're quite snobbish towards certain genres. I can't see it winning, but I think it will definitely get a nomination. I think the best chance it's probably got of winning is probably Best Supporting Actor, with Patrick Stewart. I thought his performance in it was just outstanding. As a person who's been quite close to dementia through my great uncle and my grandfather, who passed away about a year ago, I thought it was eerie, his portrayal of that illness. And obviously with him having the ability he had with the mental aspect and the effects it had when he had these little seizures, I thought it was incredible, the performance from him. And just I thought him and Hugh Jackman were absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if Hugh will get a nomination for Best Actor. I think that'll be quite a competitive category, but he might, I don't know.
I think both those categories in Supporting Actor and Best Picture are probably the best chances, John. Whether or not they will win, I don't know. I've got to be honest, I don't think they will. Be put up for nomination is a big step for this genre. If Patrick Stewart could win that Supporting Actor, it really would open the doors up for this genre as well. I've got to say that it's a film I've seen, I think, 3 times now since it was released, and every time I pick up something new. I certainly did at the time think this is going to be one of the films of the year after coming out of the theatre the first time. It's certainly in my top 5 of films of 2017, and I really hope it does well and it does get nominated, and from there, who knows where it could really open up the doors for the comic book genre.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with it being something like a western film, masquerading as a comic book film, that might increase its chances a little bit. As I said, though, I don't think it will win Best Picture. I think that'd be something of a miracle. I think that's looking probably like A Shape of Water or a Wonder or something like that. It's kind of looking like the likely candidate. But also with Heath Ledger winning Best Supporting Actor for The Dark Knight, there's certainly a chance for them to win that award. And as I say, Patrick Stewart was phenomenal, so I think that's their best shot. I don't know if a comic book film's ever been nominated for Best Picture, has it not? No. So that's actually, I mean, what a step forward that is. That's probably a defining moment for the genre, as you said, Stephen, I think. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I absolutely loved Logan. It's one of my favourite films of the year. Certainly deserving of a nomination, and I would love to see Patrick Stewart winning it, because I absolutely love that chap. I was a fan of The Next Generation in the 90s, so I've always been a fan of Patrick, and I hope he wins it, because he's a good chap.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the character Charles Xavier has seen different incarnations, John, played by the same actor. This is his best one as far as I'm concerned. I always thought he was a great character in the other X-Men films anyway. In this one, very shocked with his appearance. and where his mind was in this film. He certainly was the standout in the film, and that's not taking anything away from Daphne Keane or Hugh Jackman, who were absolutely amazing. But I'd certainly like to see it from a personal point of view. I'd love to see Patrick Stewart winning it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, the final thing I'll add on to it is just not just the acting performance, but how frail he looked in the film as well. I thought he looked like a very old man, very withered, quite frail, and I thought that was incredible, because if you've got any knowledge on Patrick, then you'll realise he's in very, very good shape for his age. He's quite a sprightly chap, and he's quite toned as well, quite chiselled. So I thought that was a great job as well, and I don't know if you'd call that the visual department, if they'd done it, or whether he actually lost weight or whatever, but yeah, I mean, he played the part beautifully.
Who knows, he might actually get into writing some films himself. He's certainly got the knack for it, as we saw at his appearance in Extras. We'll leave that there. And just moving on from one Oscar to another, this is Oscar Isaac. It's just been announced that he's joining the new Addams Family animated film.
Yeah, and obviously it's directed by Conrad Vernon as well, Stephen, who I know from his work on Shrek 2 and also Sausage Party. Certainly Oscar Isaac is looking to be cast as Gomez Addams, and I'm really excited for this. The only thing I'm slightly disappointed about is that it is a stop motion, because I think when I heard about this part's been a thing maybe a year ago or so, there was also a lot of talk of Christina Ricci coming back to play Morticia Addams. She obviously played Wednesday the daughter in the original, so that had to have been very interesting. But yeah, they've went for the stop motion thing, which should be interesting as well. It depends on who's really taking the helm for that. I would love to see Leica, who done Kubo and the Two Strings, get involved in that, but that's my personal opinion. That might not be what they're doing. Either way, I'm excited for this. Oscar Isaac's a great actor. I absolutely love the chat. He's been in so many different roles. Obviously plays Poe Dameron in Star Wars, but he's in so many different wide varied roles. He's just a brilliant actor. And I actually seen an image, I think it's from Suburbicon, of him with the pencil moustache, and he looked every bit like Gomez Addams. So another little bit to add in why I'm kind of disappointed it's stop motion, but I digress.
It was certainly one of the better things in Suburbicon, John, as I mentioned in my review last week. That was my initial reaction when I saw him on screen in this film, as he had that Gomez Addams appearance. I think it's about time we had a new Addams Family story. It's certainly been a few years since the last ones. I remember the old 60s TV show on reruns, and I went to the cinema of Kevin to see the Addams Family. I think it was 1991. Certainly loved it, and I've mentioned my love for Raul Julia, who played Gomez Addams in that movie, and again in the Addams Family Values, which I think came out a couple of years later, which wasn't as good. But no, it's I think I heard this as well about this project was going to be live action, but it's now since materialised into an animated film. I certainly would have liked to have saw that kind of version to it, especially with Christina Ricci playing the mother now. That would have added a nice sort of slant to it. It's certainly there's not a more dysfunctional family than the Addams Family, or maybe with the Simpsons, but certainly they're an entertaining lot, and there's not a lot of news on it just now, John. It was actually you brought it up to me just yesterday, and I didn't have really much time to do much research on it, but now I've heard about it, I'm certainly on board.
Yeah, I mean, Addams Family is one of my favourite films when I was a child. I absolutely loved it. Obviously it had Christopher Lloyd, and I just remember Cousin It. It was brilliant visually. And the hand, I can't remember what his name was. Thing, yeah. But absolutely loved that film growing up, and I'm delighted to see they're doing a new one. But as you say, it's not a lot of news at the moment, so it'll be certainly interesting to see how this develops and who else they go on. I'd love to see Christina Ricci coming back in some form to reprise her role as maybe Wednesday or Morticia. It'll be very interesting to see what they do. Certainly the cast are bold, and certainly the original writer from the Addams Family films, I think Charles Addams, he's involved, although he's been dead a number of years, so I think it's probably an adaptation of one of his previous works. He's involved, the director, looks very interesting, and I'm excited for it.
And just moving on, this was actually a trailer that we saw last week, John, at the showing of The Last Jedi. called The Commuter. This is starring Liam Neeson. It's released in the USA on the 12th of January and comes out here in the UK on the 19th of January.
Yeah, sadly we didn't get to see the Infinity Wars trailer before The Last Jedi. For some reason it got shown over in America and didn't get shown here. Disappointing. But yeah, this one looks very interesting. Very interesting indeed. I'm not too sure or include up on the director. I can't even pronounce his name. I'll butcher it. It's French, but the looks of it, Jean Serra. I hope I've done that justice here. Not too familiar with him. I believe he actually may have directed House of Wax, which bizarrely I have seen from the early 2000s. I just recall it starred Paris Hilton and she get murdered in it, I believe, quite gruesomely, and I was quite happy about that. So yeah, I digress. It certainly looks very interesting, Stephen, from the trailers. Very, very much a Liam Neeson film. It kind of reminded me like a Murder on the Orient Express without the murder meets Taken, if you get what I mean. It's on a train, there's a mystery element to it. He has to pick out somebody. I think he talks to Vera Farmiga's character, Joanna. She asks him if what type of man he is or what type of person he is. I think she says she's a behavioural expert, and she asks him to try and pick out somebody on the train for the $75,000 reward or something along those lines. And he's then roped into this, and it looks very, very interesting. Tonally, it looks quite frenetic, quite action-packed, and yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean, this film itself has had 3 trailers, John. First was a teaser trailer that came out about 3 months ago. That was followed up by a proper trailer 2 months ago, and then just last week the final trailer came out. Not much differences in either 3 of the trailers, but certainly intriguing to see how this will play out. As you said, it stars Liam Neeson, Vera Farmiga, also Patrick Wilson in there. I've been a fan of his since 2009's Watchmen. It looks a very fast-paced movie. Also Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad, I think, is in there as well. Great actor. And Sam Neill as well makes an appearance. So it's a great cast as well. Just going back to Liam Neeson, I've always been a big fan of his. The last decent film I watched him in was Taken, and that was 2008, I think, John. Yeah. It's been a long time since he really hit the ground running with a film. Certainly the Taken sequels weren't a patch on the original. I've seen him in other films as well that I've reviewed, which were okay in parts, but he's certainly not at the heights of his powers like he once was, and I would love to see this film really hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in terms of genre, I think it's very much up his street. I actually recall seeing a film, I can't remember the name of it, where he played a doctor who had his identity stolen by somebody, and I think he had amnesia. I can't recall what it was called, but very good film, and it's kind of a similar to this. It's got mystery elements where he has to find somebody, he gets caught up in the whole action-packed escapade, and it's very much up his street. In terms of the other two, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, those two have also worked together a number of times in Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2, so they've got a bit of chemistry, so it'll be interesting to see how they work. I think Vera's character Joanna's playing the antagonist in this, whereas Patrick Wilson's playing more of a police officer, so certainly I'd be interested to see if they spend time together in it or not. But yeah, I mean, I can't really touch much more on it because if you've seen the trailers, it's pretty straightforward. It tells you exactly what the film's about. He's on a train, he's a commuter who travels on this train every day for 10 years. He's tasked with trying to pick out somebody on the train. Lots of people are getting harmed, and they're kind of threatening his loved ones and stuff like that. I think actually Jonathan Banks' character, or someone looking like him, gets pushed in front of a bus at some point, and might meet his untimely end. So it certainly, as I said, looks very action-packed, looks interesting. It looks right up Liam Neeson street, and I'll certainly give it a watch because I do like the odd action film.
Yeah, the director, Jean Serra, is that how you pronounce it? He actually did the film Run All Night, which myself and Darren reviewed this year. I think we were 6 months apart from reviewing it. Both of us certainly had different views on it. Darren didn't like it much. I thought it was okay. I thought it was quite enjoyable. It was, don't take it too seriously. I thought it was quite an enjoyable film. His style reminds me a lot of Pierre Morel. It's that electric pacing, and the dialogue certainly in that film Run All Night was interesting without being pretentious. He's a very stylish director, and certain styles that he might use in this film that was used in Run All Night, which was a kind of a Google map effect when the camera was kind of panning in and out of the areas in the city, where the action was taking place, and it was quite a clever way of getting to and for. But no, it'll be interesting to see. I'll certainly will watch it. I'm a glutton for Liam Neeson action films. Whether they're good or bad, whether I go back to them, that's another thing. But this one certainly does have a good vibe about it.
And next up, Stephen, just moving on from the Commuter trailer, we've got a new title for the Jungle Book film coming out in 2018, of course, starring stellar cast, but we'll get into that in a minute. The film is now titled Mowgli, I believe after the young boy from Jungle Book, so I wonder what this perhaps means for the film going forward. They want to differentiate themselves from, I think it was last year's release or maybe a couple of years ago. Unbelievable film, I think, that Disney released. I absolutely loved that film. In terms of CG, I thought that was absolutely pioneering. So I think this may be them trying to differentiate themselves, and perhaps it may indicate, I don't know what it'll indicate. Stephen, what do you think?
I think this will indicate, John, that the Jungle Book isn't a Disney story to begin with. It's Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah. I
can understand them going down the road of retitling their film, whatever they're going to call it, Mowgli, the Jungle Book story or whatever, I don't know. The 2000 I think it was 16 adaptation was directed by Jon Favreau, and she said, John, it was a stunning piece of film. I'm pretty sure I've read Andy Serkis has said this is going to be a darker tone to the film, and I'm just thinking if possibly the retitling has got a big part to play in it, in the way they're the plot will go. Certainly the Jungle Book is about Mowgli anyway, but just it does really interest me on how they're going to separate the two films that don't want to confuse the audience. It's certainly interesting cast, which we're just going to get into in a moment. I'm certainly looking forward to this film.
Just a little chap who plays Mowgli in it, I'm interested. I was just having a little look at his details. Rohan Chand. He's obviously in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which is, I don't know if it's released or it's about to release. Seems to be getting panned by some, but it's certainly one I will be looking to watch because I do like Kevin Hart, and I'm a fan of Dwayne Johnson, even though some of his films are a little bit horrific in terms of acting spectacles, but certainly in terms of action. I've seen the trailer as well before The Last Jedi for Jumanji, and I was a little bit perplexed at how they smuggled things in, but I digress. That's a completely different film entirely. But Rohan Chand's in that. He was also in Lone Survivor as well, so he's I don't recall him in The Lone Survivor. I think it might have been a little boy at the end who helped Mark Wahlberg's character into the village, the Taliban village. But yeah, I mean, certainly he looks interesting. Just touching through the rest of the cast, Cate Blanchett, brilliant actress, probably my second greatest actress of all time for me, out with Meryl Streep. I think she's incredible. I don't know what else to say about her other than that. She's just phenomenal. Andy Serkis, absolutely love Andy Serkis. We've touched upon him before, one of my favourite actors. Christian Bale, again, one of the best actors out there. Love the chap. Benedict Cumberbatch, again, one of the best actors out there. Love the chap. I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it's true. And after that, it's a little bit indifferent. I think I know Naomi Harris, but yeah, certainly I do know Naomi Harris. She's been in 28 Days Later, Skyfall, Collateral Beauty, Moonlight. She's a brilliant actress as well. So in terms of cast, absolutely phenomenal. And obviously Andy Serkis is directing it as well, and we know he's got some great directing chops because he had done the second unit stuff on the Hobbit trilogy. So this looks very promising. Certainly if it is going to be a darker tone, I'm really intrigued to see what road they go down with this one.
Certainly in Christian Bale and Cate Blanchett's case, they've got past experience in voice work. Christian Bale obviously played Thomas in Pocahontas in 1995. He voiced Howl in the English version of Howl's Moving Castle back in 2004. And Cate Blanchett provided work certainly for the English version of Ponyo in 2008 and How to Train Your Dragon 2 in 2014. certainly a great cast. Benedict Cumberbatch, as you said, Naomi Harris,
Eddie Marson as well.
Eddie Marson, yeah.
He was in that war film with Bill Nye.
Yeah, Tom Hollander's in there, and obviously our very own Scottish Peter Mullen's in there as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I love Peter Mullen as well. Be interesting to see if that. Obviously, it's going to be animated, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do this with the animation. Are they going to follow on from the 2016 one, where it's a similar realistic take, or whether it's going to be something different to try and differentiate the two films? But yeah, I mean, certainly I'm very intrigued for this film, Stephen, and yeah,
I'll certainly look forward to this release later this year, John. And just moving on now to the final part of the show. We're not doing a review of anyone this week. We're just going to move on to our box office chat. John, what's number one, by the way?
I think Justice League's moved up to number one, Stephen. No, Star Wars The Last Jedi is of course number one. What a surprise. We are still kind of basing this on last weekend's figures, because we haven't got this weekend's figures included, and the whole of this week as well. So it's based off the opening weekend figure of 28.1 million, which I think we touched upon last week in our review. As expected, absolutely tearing it up over here and everywhere, really. Just a monstrous release. Every Star Wars film is a monstrous release these days, and not too surprising to see it sitting at number one. Phenomenal film. Go and watch it if you have not seen it. Even though it is divisive, you should see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to get to the sort of figures of The Force Awakens, but certainly has healthy figures this early on after just 1 week, John.
I expect it to go over a billion, maybe 1.5, 1.6 billion though.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
It certainly will. It's one of those films you have to go back and see a few times just because of the layers, but we certainly will be going back next week, as I previously mentioned earlier on in the podcast. Just coming in at number 2. It's been there for 6 weeks, John. It's Paddington 2.
And it's still taking in a healthy figure. It's took in 1.4 million for last week. Sitting at 31.4 million total gross now. As you say, it's been out for 6 weeks. Continues to add to its impressive total gross with another strong week at the box office, and I think it's now just about breaking into the top 100 films of all time in Britain. So that's an absolutely phenomenal performance from Paddington 2, and it just cements that we're going to get a continuation of the Paddington franchise going forward. I hope they can maintain the high standard though. Obviously with I forget the chap's name who wrote the original Paddington, and with him passing away, we might see a dip, but they've got a wealth of stories to delve into from that great chap. After that, we've got Daddy's Home 2 sitting at number 3. It's grossed 1 million for last week, sitting at 11.4 million total. It's been out for 4 weeks. This is doing absolutely fine. For what it is, 11.4 million is actually quite impressive. It's a bog standard Christmas comedy film. I think that's probably down to Will Ferrell alone taking that in. Yeah. I mean, the first film is certainly a success. And it's attracting back the fans from the original. For a comedy this time of year, a certain type of comedy, there's a lot of adult humour in there. To gross 1 million over the weekend's quite impressive, John. Yeah.
And just moving on to number 4, been there for 3 weeks now. It's the film Wonder.
Yeah, it's grossed 500,000 this week. It's sitting at a £3.6 million gross. Again, much like Daddy's Home 2, but for different reasons. This is probably a small budget, and it's for a film of that stature, it's done quite well. I think we'll continue to see this maybe trodden along with the hype of the whole awards season coming up. This is certainly going to be a contender for some Oscar nominations from what I'm hearing. I've not seen it yet, but I'm just talking to a chap today, just a regular punter. He's even talking about going to see this, so I think that perhaps tells you what you're dealing with here. But after that, we've got the much maligned Justice League, Stephen, sitting at number 5, 200,000 earned for the week. It's earned 17.2 million total in 5 weeks. Yeah, floppity flop. That's what comes to mind for me.
I'm shaking my head here. I'm just looking at the gross on that 17.2 after 5 weeks, and just looking up at the top of that box office chart, what you see Star Wars is pulled in just one week. It's unbelievable that this film has flopped terribly. There's obviously, certain elements in there, special effects, storyline, just the way that these films are getting put together. I don't really want to go on about it too much because I'm certainly not panning it. If anyone knows me, they know that my two most favourite superheroes are Superman and Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the film,
yeah.
and it's not that bad.
No,
it really isn't. There's parts of it that are not very well done, and that much of that's down to the change in director, and having to reshoot it with 6 months to go to releasing it, and the kind of obviously we've since discovered that Warner Brothers chairmans or whatever CEOs have pushed it through for budget reasons. They want to get that so they can get the bonus and stuff like that. So it's obviously higher ups have really caused this, and that's why we've seen a shuffle. But it's not that bad a film. It certainly doesn't deserve to be grossing only 17 million. I think that's purely down to word of mouth, and it's hurted it. Yeah,
it certainly has, John. In my case, it's not a film I'm going to rush out to go and see just because word of mouth. I don't normally do that with films. I normally get in and watch them and I make my own judgment on them. And it's certainly one that I'm not in any hurry to go and see. I'll probably get it on Blu-ray eventually just to add to the collection and maybe watch it then. But just moving on from that, Murder on the Orient Express is still hanging in there, John, after 7 weeks.
Yeah, it's grossed 200,000 and it's sitting at a total £23 million gross. I think this is kind of a finished in its earning power now. It's slowed right down now, but as we've said numerous times, it's a success. It's done very, very well for the genre and stuff like that. After that, at number 7, we've got The Disaster Artist, a film that I will be going to see because I really want to see what James Franco's done with this one. I've seen bits and bobs of the room that looks absolutely horrific, and this looks like quite a good homage to it. It's earned 100,000 for the week, sitting at 1 million total gross 3 weeks in. This can't have a big budget either, much like Wonder. It's got to be a small budget film that's doing okay.
It's probably got a bigger budget than The Room. James Franco and Dave Franco starring in this. Seth Rogen's involved as well, I'm sure. It's one of the ones that I will get round to seeing. I've not seen The Room, John, so I can't really comment. But it's got good vibes. This film.
This is certainly better than The Room, Stephen.
Yeah.
I've watched a 9-minute compilation video on YouTube and it was terrible. The guy who wrote it, I forget his name.
Tom.
He's a nice chap, man. He's an honest guy, but he was forgetting his own lines, man. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, his name is Tommy Wiseau. I can't even pronounce it. But yeah, he's a good chap. He was on Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon with James Franco. The two of them have got a great relationship. And he's a nice guy. I don't want to pan him, but not a good actor. And moving on from that, we've got A Bad Mom's Christmas still in there, Stephen. It's earned 100,000 for the week, 8.1 million total gross, 7 weeks in. It's done extremely well, and I think you might be right. I think Justice League may drop out of the top 10 before this, after all, the way things are going.
It's certainly hanging in there, John, and obviously with its title, it's just came at the right time of year. But I mean, it's decent numbers for a comedy this time of year. And again, it's a certain tone to it, the humour. But as I said, that was, that comment was a flippant remark from myself, but it might come true. And just moving on from that, this is a film that you reviewed earlier in the week, John. It's the Christmas-based film, The Star.
Yeah, I saw it last week. It's grossed 100,000 for a 700,000 total gross. It's been out for 4 weeks now. It's a decent little film, man. If you've not read my review, I'm not going to go into great detail. You should read my review. Shameless plug to go onto the Movie Burner blog at movieburnerentertainment.org. Get on there and read it. It's a great little film for what it is. It's a reintroduction to the original holy story of Christmas for the new generation who are kind of absorbed with the whole coke-fueled vision of Santa and stuff like that. Capitalist, consumerist vision of Christmas. So yeah, I mean, it was okay. Quite funny in parts. Very much kid-friendly. But read the review if you want to see more about that one. After that, and finally, we have Thor Ragnarok just hanging in at the top 10 with 100,000 gross for the week. 30.6 million total gross. It's been out for 8 weeks now. Utterly brilliant performance for Thor. It's one of the best superhero films to be released in Britain, I believe. It's not quite breaking the top 100, but it may do. It may very well do, but I don't think it will. But you can't really argue it's a great performance.
I don't think it's going to make much more than 30 million now, John. It might stay in the top 10 over here in the UK for maybe another week until the releases of the January films come about. But no, phenomenal. And it's just typifies the release of this film, this instalment of the Thor trilogy. Certainly kick off. It's had great reviews, great vibes. It's certainly been a rebirth of the character, if you like, after the disappointing Dark World. I've actually not got around to see this yet. I think I'll have to wait till it comes out in Blu-ray now, but
you might get a theatre on your own, Stephen.
Yeah, I don't mind a theatre on my own, John, to be honest with you.
Stir of Echoes.
Yeah, but no, that's that's certainly it's quite impressive for a movie to be in the top 10. After 8 weeks, still hanging in there. £30.6 million, very impressive for over here in the UK. But that just rounds off the top box office UK figures for weekend of December 15th to the 17th. And that's all we've got time for on this show this week. We hope you had a Merry Christmas, and obviously we'll be back in the new year. In fact, our next podcast actually falls on our first year anniversary on the 3rd of January, John. Certainly we've came a long way in my book, in that time. Certainly been a journey since we started talking about what we're going to do with Movie Burner Entertainment, but it's certainly been enjoyable. But you can join us on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners, and as John previously mentioned, on our official website at movieburnerentertainment.org for the latest on the blog from our writers Darren Gautier, Max Valentine, Josh Fingerhut and George Nash, and our new writer Chauncey Talise just joined us this week, and we certainly welcome him into the Movie Burner Entertainment experience. And also, the podcast is on our YouTube channel if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button. So thanks once again for listening, and we will see you next week.